Hi there, Sonia here. Welcome back to another episode of the Help I'm Artist podcast. If you're listening to this podcast, the chances are quite big that you love everything creative. You probably spend countless glorious hours working on a creative project, all the while thinking, if only I could earn money doing this. Well, then you're definitely in the right place, because this is my big passion. I started this podcast and I write courses and share my content because I love helping artists turn their creative passion into a profession. In each episode, I try and give valuable tips and insights to help creatives take the next step, whether you're just starting out or you've been creating for years. I still remember the moments I wanted to be an artist. Maybe you can too. I must have been around 6. In what seemed to be like the middle of the night, my dad woke me up and I could see he was beaming from ear to ear. In my abrupt interruption from probably a delightful dream, I saw that my dad had the newspaper in his hands. He said, "Your name is in the paper, Sonia." This jolted me out of my sleepiness, and I could see my name loud and clear stating that I had won an art competition. Unbeknownst to myself, my primary school teacher had sent one of my paintings, Boy on Stool, to an art competition, and I had won. As I drifted back to sleep that night, I can still remember dreaming and wishing, wouldn't it be amazing if I could be an artist? I have since had the privilege to attend art academy and later graduated from the design academy, where I learned how to draw and to paint and to design. But what I didn't learn was how to actually work as an artist. How do you do this? How do you turn your passions into a profession? Not one that lasts only one season, but that sets you up to create for a lifetime. After years of studies, I went on a quest. I was determined to find out if and how it was possible to live and work as an artist. What do the statistics tell us? And what could I learn from successful and some not so successful artists from the past and from the present? And I have good news. I have found that success has little to do with our upbringing or actually studies or the amount of our talent. Of course, talent is important, but it wasn't the criteria that set the successful artists apart from the less successful artists. This made me really hopeful that maybe becoming a successful artist was based on criteria that I could influence and that I could control, and that I didn't have to be a victim of my childhood or my upbringing, whether I did or didn't attend art school. These next few podcasts, I'll be looking at what successful artists get right. Are there universal, reoccurring factors that we can embrace and learn from and apply to our own art life? So stay tuned, or even better, subscribe to this podcast so that you will get notified when the next episode goes live, so you don't have to miss any of these valuable insights. This episode also comes with a valuable resource that you can download on my website. In this resource, I highlight some of these success factors, and it includes a worksheet that you can find out what you need to do to grow in your art and your art career. You can go to www.soniasmallhere.com/free resource. This episode is the first part of a series, What Successful Artists Get Right. And just to be really real and honest, I found, and the research backed it up, that being a creative, working as an artist, is really one of the most difficult professions to be successful in. So from me, you won't be hearing any quick fixes or easy answers, because statistics tell us that only 1 out of 5 highly trained professional artists are successful in their profession. This is the reality, which means if you want to pursue this profession, you really must be willing to do the work. But don't leave now or get discouraged. It is possible. It's just going to take some intention, persistence, and strategic thinking on your part. This brings me to the reason number 1, and the one I want to highlight in this episode. Successful artists that set themselves apart from their peers is that they have been super committed to their craft. You see that with past and present day artists. They are super committed Commitment. Webster Dictionary describes it as a state or quality of being dedicated to a cause and an activity. Well, art is both. It's a cause and an activity, and putting yourself in a state and a quality of being to follow your passions. This takes commitment. And another description by Webster is an engagement or an obligation that restricts your freedom of action. Well, I found this to be true too. If you commit to one thing, that means you can't do another thing. There's always a choice. There's always a consequence in making a commitment or taking action. We're all in different places on our art journey. Maybe you're just starting out, or maybe you're secretly thinking about pursuing some kind of creativity, or maybe you've been a working artist for a long time. The fact that we need to make commitments will never change. It'll never leave us. Every day is a new commitment. Every project asks a new commitment. Every collaboration asks for choices and a state of being to be dedicated to the cause or to the activity. We can't get around it. You either commit or you don't commit. If we don't commit, many beautiful moments will pass us by. So, where are you on your artist journey? You can go over to my website. On my home page, I have an infographic that you can download, and it takes you through the artist journey. They're all different steps. We all are in different moments. It starts out with your passion for creativity. Maybe even as a child, you just love being creative, working with your hands. That really is a language that you enjoy and that you use to express your emotions and feelings. And deep down inside, you have this inkling that you might just be an artist. And maybe you've had certain defining moments in your life. There's been affirmation, maybe by an art teacher or a kindergarten teacher, or parents that have really affirmed your creativity. Maybe you found out that you really love doing art, being busy with creativity, that it gives you energy. Maybe people have been touched by the things that you've made, and you've inspired them. Or maybe you've even sold some of the projects and the work of art that you've made. Then you know, oh, I'm an artist. Help, I'm an artist. Hence this podcast. Then you've come to your D-Day, decision day, a moment where you need to decide, are you going to take it seriously? Of course, you can take your creativity and use it as a hobby or a way to relax and to unwind. But if you want to take your creativity to a next step and actually turn your passion into a profession, you'll need to make some really clear and concise choices. It's going to take a commitment. If you want to continue on your journey and go to the next step, you need to take your art and your art heart more seriously. I have to think of Piet Mondrian. Of course, I live in the Netherlands, and close to where I live, there's a city called Amersfoort. This is where Mondrian was born. His father was a school teacher who strongly encouraged his son to pursue the same vocation. So Mondrian studied to be a teacher. He completed his teaching degree, but his heart was really set on one thing. He wanted to be an artist. So he left his teaching career and all the securities that it gave him, and he became a student at the Academy of Fine Art in Amsterdam. His many sketches and early paintings show him vigorously painting and sketching almost daily. And there are also images of him strapping his easel, his palette and his paints to his bicycle, and it could be found studying light and color and composition along the channels and the parks of Amsterdam. Later, Mondrian worked in Paris and even went on to live and work in New York, where he made his artistic breakthrough. The secret of Mondrian's success was that he had made up his mind. He wanted to be an artist. He was committed and determined, even if he went against the grain and what people had expected of him. I find it an inspiring story, and there's a great museum in Amersfoort, if you're ever in the area, that show the work and the life of Mondrian. He is an artist known for his big paintings, usually with primary colors, the squares, and he really went through a whole process of abstraction. But his earlier works are also very, very inspiring. So what is keeping you from pursuing your art dream, from pursuing a life of creativity that you can actually earn a living doing what you love, being creative, being an artist? Now, I have the awesome privilege of teaching and coaching many artists, and through the years I've found that there are certain kinds of artists or creatives that want to be an artist that find it difficult to commit. I just go through this list. You also find it in the podcast notes. The first is the shadow artist. The shadow artists are usually very talented, but instead of following their own dreams, they have chosen to support others in their art dreams. Often shadow artists have become teachers, or they run a gallery, or they work in the creative industry. But deep down in their hearts, they would love to be artists themselves, but they've chosen to stay in the shadows. The second is the imposter artist. They always feel that they don't belong. They can't get the words, I am an artist, out of their mouths. They feel inferior or not worthy to be artists. They're busy with their craft, but they're not artists. Maybe you can relate. The perfectionistic artist, number 3. They feel that they're never quite ready to take the next step. They're waiting for all the factors to line up just perfectly so they could sign up for that painting class, or work together with another artist, or get on with a painting. They are never quite ready, and if they don't deal with their perfection, this perfectionism is going to keep them right where they are, and that they'll never be able to pursue what they really want to do. Tomorrow is the favorite word of this next artist, the procrastinating artist. Maybe you are procrastinating, that you love creativity, you enjoy art, but you get distracted and sidetracked and never really get your feet wet or teeth into anything substantial. Maybe it's time to look at everything that's distracting you. Turn off that mobile phone or even the notifications. Set time apart to pursue your art, to give your creativity some space to breathe and some room to grow. Don't let that distracting, procrastinating nature keep you from following your dreams. Number 5, the victim artist. Blames everybody and everything for not being able to follow their art dream. They've had a bad childhood, they never had a chance to study, or they're not good enough or pretty enough to post on Instagram, there's never enough money, and it's such a difficult profession. The list goes on, and the reasons to not do it just outweigh the reasons to do it, and they simply don't. Such a pity. The comparison artist, they're in the grip of what everyone else is doing. They're continually comparing themselves with others, and they feel inferior and incompetent. They feel overwhelmed by what other people are doing, and they simply settle for less or hide in the shadows, often feeling quite miserable. Number 7 I call the edges. They dabble with creativity. They do a course here and a workshop there, but they feel too insecure to actually focus on a certain area and do it well. They nibble around the edges of their creativity, never really mastering a technique or going through the pain of the phase of failure or difficulty. And unfortunately, their only reward is the crumbs left on the edges. They have tried every technique under the sun. The edger usually has huge storage boxes and units filled with art supplies, but never really get them out to make something that makes them shine. And then we have the dreamers. As artists, we are dreamers. We need to live in this fantasy and this imaginary world. That's the place where anything and everything is possible. But a dream without a goal is just a wish. So don't spend your life wishing you were an artist, dreaming what it would be like to earn money doing what you love, but start to make that dream a reality. This list is not there to discourage you. I'm a firm believer that the truth will set you free. We need to come to terms with the things that are holding us back. So maybe you are a shadow artist, or you feel like the imposter, or you're the perfectionist or the procrastinating artist, or you feel a victim and blame everybody and everything for not being able to follow your artist dream, or are you continually comparing yourself, Or are you only nibbling on the edges, not really daring to get your feet wet? Or are you living in your dream world, not really making it a reality? Well, I'm here to help you. It starts by taking small steps. Come to terms what is holding you back, face it with all the courage and the strength that you have, and get going. You can do it. It is possible. It just starts with a plan. So don't beat yourself over the head. Start out by getting into the right frame of mind. This is the first step. And there really is a moment that you need to forgive yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. There are all kinds of internal and external factors that can keep you back, but they don't need to define you. It's time to bring them into the light. And maybe you need to share it with somebody. Maybe you have a partner or a good friend or someone in your church, your club, or your art lessons that you can share it with. And if there's no one that you can directly think of, write yourself a letter. Write a letter to your artist self and ask forgiveness and commit to taking better care of your creative self. In the worksheet that I mentioned that comes with this episode, you can find more exercises that you can do in order to get more creatively free. It is so worth it. Don't let those things keep you bound and keep you back from creating and pursuing that art dream. Just this morning I happened upon a YouTube clip of a Navy SEAL instructor. He started his speech out saying, if you want to change the world, you start by making your bed. I'm like, what? He got my attention. I did quickly go and make my bed. He went on to share the fact that you start your day by doing such a small task, and completing it sets you up for the rest of your day. It's really about the small things. And besides stating that small things matter, which is quite important when you want to change the world or your world, you're giving yourself a sense of pride, stating in a very simple form that you are worthy and that what you do matters, even if it's just making your bed. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not about making your bed, and I don't want to condemn or judge anybody. There are many moments that my bed is unmade. That's not the crux of this story, but it's about doing something that may seem small, but it puts you in the right direction. I'll put a link to the YouTube film in the podcast notes so you can have a look. It's very inspiring moments from this Navy SEAL instructor. If you're wanting to pursue your creativity more seriously, then find something small to start off with. It's not about starting to paint a series in blue that needs to be finished next week. No, that's totally overwhelming. But commit a small nugget of time to doing something that you can actually commit to and finish. Whether it's making a sketch once a week when you've put the kids to bed, or committing to 1 hour a month to go outside to take photographs of the forest to build up your portfolio. Whatever it is, just take a step. Decide on something that you can commit to. And confidence goes hand in hand with commitment. If you're feeling insecure, it's very difficult to commit. If you have a small win, you take the photo, you make that sketch, and do it regularly, then you will get motivated. All those New Year's resolutions usually last to the end of January, and then the commitment is gone, and we usually end up breaking all those amazing resolutions. So don't set the bar too high. Find something that you can commit to and actually achieve. Now, I have a weakness for self-help books. I can't tell you the amount of self-improvement books on my shelves or the courses that I've followed about doing more in less time. Now, many of these courses and books have been very meaningful, but others have definitely not been meaningful. In many of these courses, they often say that in order to achieve something, you need discipline. Now, I'm all about discipline, but being disciplined is not enough. As a creative, you need to dig deeper and find what drives you, what motivates you. Why are you making your art? What is that feeling, that emotion, that expression that gives you such joy? And what are the consequences if you don't make your art? These are essential internal questions that you need to deal with. Now, I've tried many schedulers and planners based on discipline, and I set out bravely, but if I'm not clear about why I've set my alarm clock at 5 a.m., to work on my website, then I'm not getting up. Well, not in a good mood anyway. But once I got super clear about why I was podcasting or writing my courses or coaching students, I really got motivated, and this just upped the game in my commitment. It's when I started getting responses from listeners of the podcast that told me that they just sold their first paintings after listening to an episode, or that they felt understood and have decided to take their art more seriously. It's when I started getting these testimonials back from listeners and students that I really got motivated, which was far more effective than my planner and my scheduler. So take some time to think about why you're creating. And what are the consequences if you're not creating and following that part of your art heart? Another analogy I heard the instructor of the Navy SEALs share on the YouTube movie this morning was the night swim. This is a grueling swim that they take the Navy SEAL students through, that they have to swim throughout the night, in darkness, surrounded by all kinds of predators, including sharks. Now, no Navy SEAL has ever been reported to be attacked by a shark, but the chances exist. They are instructed if they surrounded and encounter an unfriendly hungry shark, they are in no way to retreat or to turn around. They are to muster up all the courage they have and face their ugly enemy. And just about the time when this shark is about to snack on your arm, you are to give him a huge punch on the snout, which should send him off. Now, the chances are very slim that we'll be facing any sharks in the future. But as artists and creatives and makers, we need to face our fears all the time. It's fear that paralyzes us, distracts us, and keeps us from following our art dream. It's the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, the fear of that empty canvas, the fear of not being creative enough or original enough. Decide and determine that you are going to face these fears. No matter what, retreating is not an option, and start taking small steps towards your art dream. Whether you're just starting out and you need to make that first sketch or start to take those photos or to sign up for a class, or maybe you've made a body of work and you need to approach a gallery for representation, or you want to set up and run an art workshop. Whatever your fear, whatever's keeping you back, retreat is not an option. There are times that we need to burn our boats. It's a great strategy many commanders in the past and great armies have used. Alexander the Great was one of them. When he conquered Persia, he gave his army 3 words: burn the boats. When they arrived on shore, they had to burn their boats. Retreating was not an option. They either had to fight and face their giants, face the enemy, or they were going to die. There are times that we need to burn our boats. We need to face our fears. We need to face those things that are holding us back, whether it's procrastination, or whether it's fear, or whether you're comparing, or whether you're staying in your dream state. Don't burn your bridges. Bridges are about relationship, it's about connecting, and it's about asking for help. You need to be wise, you need to be realistic, but maybe there are things that you need to give up. Sign up for a class, enroll in a program, or find a coach. Start making that sketch or visit a gallery, whatever it is. Take a step. Set a goal. Start small and simple, but commit to take yourself and your art heart seriously. Get the worksheet that comes with this resource and do the exercises. Your art is worth it. There are so many people out there waiting for it. Well, that's all for this week. I hope you feel inspired, ready to face your sharks, or burn your boats, or just start to take that small step by committing to something that you can achieve, to get confidence to take your next step on your art journey. Next week, I'll be back with another episode of the Help I'm Artist podcast. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you then. Bye for now.